I can make the face. See? What's bad is I also have a tiny nose, but y'all can't see that. But it looks a lot like that, actually. Anyways, do y'all know how I tell you every day I have to fight my own stupidity? Well, today is no different. And I have to admit something as a horror fan. Today is the very first time I have ever seen the original Child's Play all the way through. Now, don't get me wrong, I've seen bits and pieces of it. I've seen the reboot, I watched the straight-to-DVD shit, but in terms of actual Child's Play, this is my first time. And if you're wondering why, it's just not one I watched as a kid because there was a lot of animosity with it, with my uncle and my mom. Because as far as I've been told, this is the only movie that's ever scared the shit out of my uncle. That, and for my mom, dolls are too close to clowns. But, see, the story goes that my uncle had one of those weird-ass My Buddy dolls from the 80s, and he got so scared of this movie, he ripped the head off My Buddy, and then the doll lived in my papa's, workshop because he was a concrete mason until at least he retired. As far as I know, it's still there, though. But that's why we never fucked with Child's Play. But here I am. And like always, I am not without questions, but I need to tell you the information that I figured out. So before we get started, I'm going to point out something very obvious. This is significantly funnier to me because I grew up watching Seventh Heaven. You know who the mom is in Seventh Heaven? Catherine Hicks. If you haven't seen Seventh Heaven, it's that show from the Y2K era where the pastor husband was really upset with his wife because she tried a joint once in the 70s in college. And then they fired Jessica Biel for doing some sort of racy magazine. And then she was in Blade Trinity. Then she really got fired. But anyways, so yes, the mother from Seventh Heaven is also in fact the mother from Child's Play. Well, before being a pastor's wife, she was fighting a criminal who was reincarnated inside a doll's body. Kind of sort of reincarnated, but we'll get there. Okay, now let's get into it. So Child's Play is about a little boy named Andy. I think he's turning 6, but he's obsessed with this good guy character. And good guy has a cartoon and cereal and pajamas and dolls and little accessories, including a submachine firearm. Which is crazy because he's got a doctor set, and then Andy gets a tool, Bob the Builder set that goes with him. So this is kind of a weird swerve. But anyway, he's obsessed with all things good guy, and he wants one of the good guy dolls that can blink and talk and move and whatever. Well, unfortunately, they are $100, and his single mother works in retail. So $100 doll is kind of out of the question until her best friend shows up and tells her that there's a man who sells these dolls that, fell off the back of a truck. And she paid $30 for it. It was neat. That's a steal. Except it didn't really fall off the back of a truck. He got it from a toy store that burned down because a bolt of lightning hit the toy store. But it's just not like a rogue bolt of lightning. It had a bolt of lightning because this man named Charles Ray, who was a major criminal, was shot by the police and he was dying. And so he did this weird ritual to move his soul from his body into the doll. So essentially, Catherine Hicks bought a haunted doll for $30, which comparatively to $100, that's still a really good deal. Now, me personally, if I was dying through a toy store and I had to transfer my soul from one item to the other, I think I might pick one of these RC cars or a little Matchbox car, so that while you're sleeping, I can drive all over your face and keep you up at night. And then if you try to report it to the police, nobody's going to believe you. And I'm tiny enough I can hide in crevices and shit so you'll never find me. But I keep you up all night, every night, until you die of exhaustion. I'm here for the long game. Or I could probably fit in Uranus. We could try that too. But just because he's in a doll body doesn't mean he's not a criminal. And he still wants to do murderous things. So he starts committing murder. He hits one woman with a hammer and she falls out a window and dies. He uses a voodoo doll on another guy. His own voodoo doll. I don't know voodoo, but I don't think you're supposed to make one of yourself. But he keeps stabbing that and that kills him. One guy's trap house explodes. Now, obviously, the police don't believe that a doll is murdering people. They're going to think it's the little boy who is carrying the doll around and blaming the doll. Except up until now, this little boy has never given anybody a reason to believe he is violent or even deceitful. But hey, let's go with what's easiest. It's a really stupid idea to think that he did it. Number one, because the only thing they have connecting the 6-year-old to the lady falling out the window are little footprints across the countertop in the flour, right? Now say what you will, but I don't think a 6-year-old boy and a 2.5-foot doll have the same size feet. What's he gonna do? Put the little shoes on his hands and do handstands? Are we Tiny Timming it where he's walking on his knees? It's in the second one when the trap house blows up. He's 6. Like, yes, it's absolutely weird that he left school to get on a train to go all the way out in the middle of nowhere with his doll to this specific house. But I really don't think your standard 6-year-old is going to have knowledge or capabilities in explosives ordnance. And so they lock away Andy in a mental health treatment facility for a few days. Come to find out, they're still using fucking electroshock therapy in the 80s. But don't worry, it's not on him. And then the rest of the movie is Catherine Hicks and this cop and Andy trying to basically subdue Chucky or kill him, because obviously they need him for evidence, so they don't put Andy away, even though not a single piece of fucking evidence worked. But by this point, Chucky has a knife. He's 2.5 feet, and his main weapon is a pocket knife. I stand corrected, it's more like a hunting knife, but the kind of hunting knife you buy at Walmart to impress your friends, not the kind you would actually go hunting with. Like, this is nothing like a Rambo blade. But he slices the leg on the cop, and so the cop is completely taken out. And so first off, they try to light him in fire in the fireplace, but they don't wait for him to completely melt, and then he comes back to life partially melted. And then they tried shooting him. They shot his head off, they shot one arm off, and he's all in pieces in the hallway. But then the cop partner shows up, and the first cop that's been... He's got the paper cut. He's like, don't fucking touch that, we need that. And the first thing he does is touch it. He's got the head in his hand. It's all partially burnt. He's like, you're really afraid of that? Well, then Chucky's body that still has one arm attached comes through the air conditioning vent and tries to attack him. And they pull him off and they just throw it again. But then they leave. The end. Now, did I like it? Oh, it's big goofy. But it's that good kind of goofy that lets my brain rattle on for about 10 hours. It gives me ample opportunities to be creative, and I love that. And it doesn't take itself seriously. So yeah, I will put it up there. It's not my favorite, not by a long shot, but I had a good time. But let's move on to the questions, comments, and concerns. Number 1. Is Tom Holland lying about his age? I mean, sure, there could be 2 Tom Hollands in the film industry. I just think that's a very particular name to have. Unless his parents were a really big fan of this. Nah, he's probably lying about his age. Moving on. Number 2, I understand he hides in the backs of seats to get mostly where he's going, but eventually he has to get out and walk. Now, he's the size of a toddler. He's only going to have toddler speed. Even with voodoo, I mean, his legs are less than a foot long. We could probably catch up at some point. Number 3, I find it odd that 2 human-sized adults could not subdue a 2-year-old sized doll, even with a knife. Because you could have hit him with your broom, like a spider, or a hockey puck. Broom, mop, a stool. Could have come up behind him and just kicked the shit out of him till he fell over. Then you step on it and you rip the arms off. I've said it before and I can say it again. Nail polish remover in like a spray bottle, because he's made of PVC, that shit will melt. Could have boiled him on the stove. Toss him in a microwave. Put him in a storage bin with the lid and like wrap some rocks and shit around it and then drop it in the river. Supposedly he got human organs the longer he's in the doll body. I mean, he's gonna drown then. Like, even if he escapes, how well can he swim? Your local humane society will do wonders with him. That's all I got, but I could probably go on for a while. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. This story is but it gives me a chance to think. 7 out of 10. Okay, bye. I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. My boobs are plastic. It's so fantastic. You know, if he's really PVC, just leaving him in the desert could do the trick. So if you give him to, like, one of the smaller children, like a 4-year-old and a Sharpie who really likes to make their dolls pretty and decides to, like, draw on his eye or something, is he gonna go blind?